Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Money Talks with Attorney Coral. I am Attorney Coral Plez, the host of your show this morning. The Money Talks show is sponsored by Columbia Savings and Loan. Very grateful for the support of that institution that allows me to come on the air every week to talk to you about matters that relate to money, hence the name of the show. I always like to mention that Columbia is celebrating 100 years in service to the community this year. And stop by Columbia Savings and Loan at 2020 West Fond du Lac Avenue just to check out what services that bank has to offer. So, welcome back to the show. We have been doing a series that deals primarily with estate planning. And I'm going to continue with that theme today and just talk a little bit more. I think I mentioned previously that estate planning is such a broad topic that there are so many different things that you can talk about. We have been talking a lot about wills in the past few weeks and why wills are important, why a will is a good thing to have. We talked a little bit about some of the unfortunate pitfalls of when you did not, people that did not have wills, and we used some celebrity examples just to try to drive the point home. I think last week was very interesting because we talked a little bit about the late Johnny Taylor and what happened when he died without a will. He had an ex-wife who had a court order that said that she was entitled to half of his estate. He had 6 children that he knew of that he claimed during the course of his lifetime. And then he had 3 more children that popped up after he was no longer alive, staking a claim to his estate. And that situation resulted in a couple of years of litigation. And when the estate that was originally valued at about $1.3 million was reduced because of all the time they spent in court, reduced because of a significant lien with the IRS, which accrued interest and penalties over the time that it took for this estate to be settled. And when the heirs originally were anticipating a settlement from the estate of about $200,000 each, they basically walked away with about $2,000 each. So $200,000 turned into $2,000 because primarily a failure to plan in terms of having a will in place. So that's just one example, just refreshing what we talked about last week a little bit to just kind of get everyone's attention to say that, this estate planning topic, I know even for me, the notion of estate planning, it sounds a little bit dry, maybe a little bit boring, but these things are important. It's anti-drama because when you have an opportunity to plan, you can have the outcome that would be your desired outcome rather than something that truly, like in, for instance, his case, I know he didn't want it to turn out that way. The attorneys made a lot of money off of that estate, but his heirs really were deprived of what I'm sure he would have intended them to have had he had a plan. So that's why we're talking about these things, and that's what it has to do with money. Um, I'm going to shift gears a little bit this morning, though, and talk about another aspect of estate plan. So, what I like to do is just remind everyone when we're talking today, I'm not giving legal advice. What I'm doing is just sharing information. I am sharing information that I know because I am an attorney, and I've learned these things through having my own practice. Um, and I'm certainly qualified to share this information. But I'd like to encourage, always to encourage callers to call in and share your own information. If there's something you would like to add to what we're discussing this morning, or there may be a question that you ask that I might be able to answer, but what I won't be able to do is to offer you legal advice over the air. It's not appropriate for a number of reasons, but later on in the show, I will share with you a number to contact me privately if at a later time you would like to discuss your own private legal matter. I will make myself available to do that. And in fact, I'm going to tell you how you can get a free consult. And when you stay tuned, and I'll tell you about that a little later in the show. But for now, the number here to call in is 414-444-5250. And I will encourage you to call that number and add to our discussion if there's any information that you would like to share with respect to today's topic. So, with all that being said, today I'm talking about a power of attorney. What is power of attorney? You hear people refer to it as POA. That's what they mean, power of attorney. Power of attorney is a legal document that is provided pursuant to statute. Wisconsin is one of 26 states to have adopted the Uniform POA Act, that's Power of Attorney Act, and codified it in chapter, I believe it's 244 of the Wisconsin statutes. So I realize I'm talking lawyer talk, so let me switch up a little bit and talk people talk. So basically, what that means is that when you have a power of attorney, you are granting authority to someone else, someone other than yourself, to manage your affairs. And granting power of attorney is a very, very big deal. Um, Even the fact that we talked about wills for a few weeks before I'm even bringing this up is because most people focus on a will. They want to make sure they have a will in place. And I just gave you reminded you of a very good example as to why a will is important. But the more I thought about it, the power of attorney is at least as important as a will, in my opinion, if not more so important than a will. Well, why would I say a thing like that? Because a power of attorney is a document that is relevant that you create, and it guides financial decisions and other decisions concerning you while you are still alive. So think about how important that is. I mean, a will is good, it's one thing, but it's dealing with matters after you are no longer around. But a power of attorney ensures that you have say so over things that are happening to you, to your properties, to your money, to your physical person while you are still here. So if you think about that from that standpoint, really, what could be more important than that? This has to do with you and you being alive and having an opportunity to determine your own affairs. And if you need to have a power of attorney for a number of reasons, and we'll talk about what those reasons might be in just a moment, um, but you certainly would say, I'd hope you would agree that it's a very important document because it concerns you while you are still alive and the quality of your life and where you're going to live and how you're going to be cared for. These things are even more important. This is, again, my opinion, even more important than what happens after you're gone. At least from your perspective, I would hope that that would be more important. So let's talk a little bit. I always do a little bit about defining terms when we're talking about legal matters. So the person that you choose to nominate as your power of attorney is often referred to in that document as the attorney in fact, right? So people see that and they think, oh, do you mean attorney? Is it an attorney? Does it have to be an attorney? No, it's just the legal way, or the term of art, I guess is a better way to say it. The term of art that's used to describe the person that you nominate to be your power of attorney. You also may hear that that person is referred to as an agent. Means the same thing. It's like with the will, when sometimes you hear them, I think we talked about this a little bit last week, that they'll refer to the person in your will as an executor, or they may be referred to as a personal representative. It's really the same thing. Here, the attorney, in fact, is the same thing as an agent. That's the person that you select to say, this is who I know, this is who I trust, this is who I would like to be my power of attorney. Okay. So that's just a definition of terms. So I'd like to go through and talk a little bit about the different types of power of attorney. Um, First, There's such a thing as a limited power of attorney. Now, this is when you need someone to do things for a limited purpose, and you specify a date right there in the document when the document loses its authority, when the authority granted by that document ends. That's a better way to say it. Um, I've seen this type of power of attorney in my practice over the years with respect to closing real estate deals. So you'll see, let's say there maybe was a person who needed to sign some papers, needed to sign a deed or something as relates to a real estate transaction, but maybe they had a trip planned out of the country that just happens to coincide with the date of the closing, and maybe it's necessary to keep that particular date for whatever reason, and you want to make sure that the transaction gets handled. You can give power of attorney to a person for one purpose during one day, and then after that you write in the power of attorney that that's it. It was limited. You only granted this person to sign on your behalf for this particular transaction and no other reason. So it starts and it ends. Boom. Limited power of attorney. Now, a general power of attorney, you can tell by the name, by definition, is more comprehensive. Essentially, a general power of attorney assigns all of your powers and rights to someone else. And it can be used when people don't have the time or don't have the skills or maybe even the desire to handle their own financial matters. And right now, I'm still just talking about financial matters. The thing about a general power of attorney is that you can choose to revoke it. So you can put it out there and you can pull it back. You have that authority and that capability to do so. But if you issue a general power of attorney and if you don't pull it back, it remains in effect until you either die or if you become incapacitated. That's the that's the difference, and I'll talk in a moment about a durable power of attorney, but that's actually the difference between a general power of attorney and a durable power of attorney is because a general power of attorney is no longer effective once or if you become a person who is incapacitated. So it seems a little bit strange. Why would people use a general power of attorney? Well, there's a number of circumstances that I've seen over the years. One, for instance, is collecting debts. Sometimes people will basically authorize another person to do debt collection on their behalf. Applying for government benefits. Maybe there's a person who's assisting you with that application process. Managing financial or business matters, buying or selling or making investments on your behalf. All of those are reasons that people may use a general power of attorney. So, moving along, another type of power of attorney is a durable power of attorney. Now, a durable power of attorney lasts even if the assigner, so that's you, like as the person who is um, authorizing this power of attorney, even if you become incapacitated, the durable power of attorney anticipates that. That's part of what it's for. If you're not able to make your own decisions or manage your own affairs, so this is the one that you use when your goal is to give the agent authority to act when you can no longer act for yourself. So that's the whole purpose of having a durable power of attorney. And some consider this to be the most powerful of all the types of power of attorney because it does survive your incapacity. So let's talk about that a little bit. Um, I'm using some words that incapacity, I'm going to talk about what that means a little bit relative to all of this when I tell you a little bit about the next power of attorney document. But it looks like there's a caller who had tried to call a moment ago, and then I saw the call went away, and now it's back. So let's take the caller. Caller, go ahead, please.
Good morning, Miss Cora.
Good morning. How are you?
Always glad to hear your wonderful, sweet voice. How's sister doing?
Oh, so much better. Thank you for asking.
Good. Glad
you
to
are
hear
too kind. Yeah. How are you doing this week?
Blessed, joyful, grateful, thankful to the Lord. Thanks for asking. And all is fine. Mother's fine. Family's doing good. Thank you.
Good.
Well, glad to hear you, and glad to be in your presence. The different. You mentioned the limited, the general, and the durable. So, if there's a medical situation where the doctor and I'm assuming it would be the durable in this situation. If there's a conflict of interest between the doctor and the power of attorney, what direction would one go into? If there's a conflict of interest between the doctor himself and the power of attorney, how does the individual sit? With that conflict of interest. If the doctor's saying one thing, and then the power of attorney is saying, well, no, we have to do this. Where does that leave me as an individual then? And I'll listen to you over the air then.
Okay, sure. That sounds good. And so that's a good question. And and I appreciate that, because I like to know that there's an audience and that people are listening, and I hope that the conversations that we're having are helpful and informative to people. And so I will continue to encourage there to be calls coming in, because it'll be someone at home that maybe was thinking that, and then they're glad that this question was brought up. So I am going to talk a little bit about power of attorneys for healthcare. I actually haven't quite gotten to that point to address yet this morning, but I do expect to speak on that. And but to try to answer the question just in a general term, that generally that's the purpose of having a power of attorney for healthcare, so that you can have your interests documented, your wishes documented, your perspectives documented, so that those things, when the time comes, or if the time comes, hopefully the time doesn't come. I mean, people can live their lives and pass on without ever having to actually activate these documents. But if in the reality that, there's a lot of people that have a lot of different circumstances where these documents do have to be activated, then it's good to have, because that individual's wishes ought to prevail, whatever they indicate was their desires. And I'm speaking generally, because there's exceptions to everything. But generally, the wishes that a person lays out about the type of care they would like to have, the type of interventions that they would want performed upon themselves, generally what that person says goes. There's always exceptions to everything, and unfortunately, that's what the litigation process can be about. But yes, it's the healthcare power of attorney is a separate matter that I'm going to talk about in a little bit. So we finished talking a little bit about the durable power of attorney for finances, and I would like to take a moment to talk a little bit about the springing power of attorney, which is another type. But because I have quite a bit to say about that, I think we're going to take that up when we come back from a break. So I'll encourage the calls at 414-444-5250. Call us with your thoughts, your comments regarding these estate planning matters. Thank you so much, and we'll be back after the break.
Milwaukee. This is Michelle Bryant, your host of Say Something Real. When President Joe Biden wanted to talk to Milwaukee voters, he called WNOV. And welcome President Biden to Milwaukee and to WNOV. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well. I had a great event downtown, and I'm at the headquarters now, and we're feeling really good. It's a great day. We have a lot of 1,000 volunteers going out here in Wisconsin, out of Milwaukee in particular.
So we are ready to roll in Wisconsin.
And I tell you what, God love you. We win Wisconsin, we win it all.
For up-to-date election information, keep it locked on WNOV 860 AM, 106.5 FM.
The Center for Teaching Entrepreneurship presents its third annual Big Head Soiree, Thursday, May 16th at the Marcus Performing Arts Center in the Bradley Pavilion. I'm Andrea Williams, and I'll be your host for this spectacular event. It's designed to salute the co-founder, Miss Radonna Rogers, as she loved to wear big hats. And this is one way we honor her. We will also celebrate and recognize the accomplishments of Milwaukee's leaders in entrepreneurial ventures. So ladies, this is the time to wear your big hat, and guys, your stylish fedora. You will be treated to a delectable dinner and the sounds of Soul Sirius starting at 5:30. The program will begin at 7 with more entertainment and the awards program. Tickets are just $75. Go to Eventbrite using BHS 24 or call 414-788-8104. That's 414-788-8104. This event will kick off the spring season, so don't miss it.
The Wisconsin Black Chamber of Commerce would like to congratulate Michelle Harris, the third winner of the pitch competition for 2024. If you are a business owner or have a great business idea, you should be at the next Third Thursday networking event featuring the pitch competition, April 18th at Truth Lounge, 1111 North Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Drive, 5 to 9 p.m. After the pitch, there's always a party. Don't miss it. And April 27th, the Black Winemakers Group, first Chicago day trip for the winemaking class. We have a few seats left. Don't miss it again. Go to the website now and reserve your seat. Thank you, Milwaukee, for the love and support you show the Wisconsin Black Chamber and all the vendors and businesses we support. And if you're interested in becoming a member of the Wisconsin Black Chamber of Commerce, please visit twbcc.com to discover all the benefits of being a member. Visit twbcc.com to keep up with what we have going on.
Milwaukee Films Black Lens program aims to foster meaningful community conversations, promote celebration, and strengthen community bonds within and beyond the cinematic setting. Black Lens was created with a singular focus to spotlight the incredible work of filmmakers of African descent by bringing their films to the Milwaukee Film Festival. These filmmakers explore the stories, the topics, and the histories that are deeply shared throughout the Black diaspora while inviting diverse audience engagement. Now celebrating its commemorative 10th year, the Black Lens program has evolved beyond the festival, offering year-round film programming. This promises even more unique cinematic experiences, honoring the rich legacy of Black film while championing the contemporary wave of Black filmmakers. For more information on the Black Lens program, go to mkefilm.org.
Prom is here, and graduation is near. Stop by Nick Avani's, where they have a large variety of suits, blazers, and shoes to get you right for that special day. You already know Nick Avani has the $100 hookup. You can get a suit, shirt, tie, and shoes, all for just $100. Nick Avani's, open 7 days a week, with an on-site tailor. Nick Avani's on the second floor of the Mayfair Mall, across from the movie theater.
WNOV 860 and W293CX 106.5 Milwaukee.
Okay, we're back with Money Talks with Attorney Coral. Welcome back from the break. Before the break, we were talking about the various different types of power of attorneys. I always forget to give the number and ask people to call in, but I'll give it again, 414-444-5250. That's 414-444-5250 to call in to join the discussion. So just for quick review, we talked about a limited power of attorney and what that means, a general power of attorney and what that means, and a durable power of attorney. Next, I would like to talk about what is referred to as a springing power of attorney. This is the type of power of attorney document that becomes effective in the future. It comes into effect during some future date, or more specifically, um, when you, as the person who created the document, becomes incapacitated. That's typically the language that is used. I mentioned that word earlier, and I said that it can be a little bit tricky. Um, I've drawn these types of documents for years, and people like it. People are comfortable with it because, let's say, if you are a person who is, let's say, in the prime of your life, you're getting up there, but you're maybe not elderly, but you're not a young kid anymore either. And you say, all right, well, I want to be a responsible adult, and I'm going to put together an estate plan that includes a power of attorney document. And I don't want to give my power away now because I'm very capable. I am sharp. My mind is clear. I can handle my money. I can make my decisions. And I'm not ready to hand over that power to someone else. So I would like to have a document that says, all right, here's my power of attorney. This is the person that I nominate to be my power of attorney. But I don't want this to take effect unless I am determined to be incapable of making my own decisions. And who decides that? Well, you put the language right in the document that says that you would like for your attorney to have to make that determination. So if your attorney says, well, I examined this person and it is, excuse me, your doctor make that determination. I hope I didn't say your attorney because that's not what I meant. Your physician would make that determination. They would examine you, they would meet with you, talk to you, make whatever assessment of you and your physical person and your mental capabilities to understand or process information, to be able to make decisions for yourself. And if your doctor determines that you no longer are capable of making um, important business decisions or financial decisions, they can put something in writing to say, I saw this person on this day, and it is my opinion that they no longer understand things well enough to make these types of decisions for themselves. Or it can be a situation where you're not even conscious. You know, maybe you had some sort of an accident, and maybe you're unconscious because of it. Then that is a type of time when this type of document, when this type of springing power of attorney would be activated. But more and more, as I talk to other attorneys over the years, there are some attorneys that advise against having this type of document. I think that people have to decide on a case by case basis and decide with their attorney what is the best route for them to take, what is the best way to achieve whatever the goal is that you're after. But I do want to take a moment and just discuss why there is a school of thought out there now that kind of steers people away from drafting and signing these types of documents. So let's work by example. That's I think the best way to kind of drive a point home. Let's say if you are a senior whose cognitive abilities may be declining, it may be Alzheimer's, it could be some other form of dementia. Maybe you have some good days and you have some bad days. Dementia is typically a gradual process. It's not something that's abrupt. You're okay one day and the next day you're just not okay. You can be sharp one moment. Let's say when you go meet with your doctor, you may be as sharp as can be at that doctor's appointment, and they can ask you, what year is it? You'll tell them. Who's the president? You'll tell them. Where do you live? You'll tell them. All right, if you are at, WNOV, if you're on 20th and Capitol and you live on, Good Hope and Sherman, how do you get home? And maybe you can say, oh, well, you just drive, west on Capitol Drive, and then you turn right so you can head north on Sherman Boulevard until you get to Good Hope Road where I live. Maybe you'll have days where you are sharp enough and you can tell those doctors those things, and they're quizzing you and they're saying, no, she's still with it. She gets it. She understands. She knows what year it is. She just told me how to get home from, whatever location. She knows who's the president, those sorts of things. And so the doctor may be left with the impression that this person is fine. They're not incapacitated. I'm not going to sign any paperwork that says that they are incapacitated because I'm satisfied that this person understands everything that I'm saying. They're looking me right in the eye, and I know that they're with it. Well, what if dementia is underway and in its gradual way? You may have a day where you can sit and look the doctor right in the eye and answer the questions and know what's going on and be very with it. But maybe the next several days of that week, you're not sure what day it is, or you're not sure how to get from your home to the grocery store. Maybe you're not sure how to balance your checkbook. Maybe you're not sure how to go and buy groceries. And unfortunately, I mean, that's the reality of what you see in real life. People are not 100% there one moment and then 100% incapacitated the next when we're talking about cognitive decline. It's something that happens gradually, it happens over time. And again, you'll have some good days, but then you can have several bad days. And then the good days become less and less and fewer and further in between. Well, why is this an issue? Because if you have these days, I'll call them the not so good days, that maybe there's confusion or you're just confused a little more easily about things in general. We live in such a predatory world that what I have seen, just even in personal experiences, that there are predators out there that will target seniors because they know that a lot of times people are struggling with cognitive issues as we age. That's just part of the aging process. Some people stay sharper than others, but there are a lot of people out there that begin to struggle and have confusion about things. And then you've got these people, I don't know where these people come from, that they get your phone number and they call and they say, oh, I've got this award for you. I just need you to give me that bank account information, and then I'll be able to send you $100,000. Or better yet, you just send me a check for $5,000 in order to release the $50,000 that I have here for you. You see those plots and those schemes, and they happen. And part of the challenge with this whole power of attorney issue that I'm raising is because it happens, unfortunately, that some of these seniors get caught on days that maybe they're not as sharp. Maybe they're not as focused. Maybe they're experiencing some level of confusion, and then they get taken advantage of. These predators come and they talk you right out of your money, or they talk you right out of access to your accounts. They talk you right out of things if you are not being protected by someone else who is handling your affairs. So that's really the rationale, and I hope I'm explaining it properly or well enough. That this is part of the rationale that some attorneys use when they say, don't bother with the springing power of attorney. Just put the power of attorney into effect. It doesn't mean that that person is going to jump in right away and start running your life and controlling your things and doing things that maybe you would not want done. But what it's saying is that that person is the person that you choose, that you vetted, that you trust. So that if and when it does become necessary to utilize that form, you've already got somebody there. You don't have to go through this process with the doctors of having them examine you and evaluate you to determine whether or not they really think that you are incapacitated. You're relying on the judgment instead of the people who are closest to you. assuming that, let's say, for instance, the person that you put as your power of attorney is a family member, then this is a person who has a front row seat to what you're really like, not just on those good days, but on the days where you're struggling. And then they can say, okay, lovingly, I think this is the time for me to step up and take control of things for your benefit, not to your detriment, but to activate this power of attorney. And there's no need to have the doctors weigh in on this because I see you myself and we didn't put that type of clause in. So it's not a springing power of attorney. It's just a regular durable power of attorney. So it's an interesting it's an interesting dilemma. And I will say that one of the challenges of life is to have these types of difficult conversations with people that you love. Um, but in a situation like this, I would say, if nothing else, it forces a difficult conversation to be had up front about who you choose to be your power of attorney. You need to choose someone that you know that you can trust. And if you have any hesitation of naming this person as the power of attorney without this springing clause that we've been talking about, and you just go ahead and name them right away, if you're not comfortable doing that, then maybe the question you have to ask yourself, is this the right person to be naming as your agent? So, if anyone has had any similar experiences or um, anything um, just in your personal circumstances that you would be willing to share related to this type of issue, because it's a really tough topic. The number here is 414-444-5250 if you'd like to call in and weigh in with any experiences that you may have had with this sort of delicate issue. So that's a tough one. But I did want to just, put it out there and talk about a little bit of what I've experienced with what I've done in my practice in prior years and what I've seen just from talking with other lawyers that looks to me to be developing as a little bit of a trend. Um, but moving on, the other power of attorney that I wanted to talk about this morning, other type of power of attorney is what our caller mentioned a little bit earlier, the power of attorney healthcare. So I call it the POA-H. That's how you'll see it's written, but that's what that stands for. Now, the power of attorney for healthcare can be within the same document as the general power of attorney or the durable power of attorney, but it's usually in its own separate document. And this particular document allows someone to make medical decisions on your behalf if you are unable to speak for yourself. And just like everything else, there's pros and cons, which is why it's important when you're interested in or putting these types of documents together that you meet with a qualified estate planning attorney so you can kind of hash out some of the pros and cons and ups and downs and consequences of doing or consequences of not doing. But we'll just run through some of them this morning just for sake of today's discussion. What are the pros of having a power of attorney for healthcare? Well, if you have a terminal illness, so you may want to have a power of attorney for healthcare in place because you're anticipating that you may get to a point where you're not able to make decisions for yourself. So you sit down with the person that you trust and you say, hey, these are my wishes. This is how, if this were to happen to me, this is how I would like it to be handled. And this is what I would want, and this is what I would not want. So you go through those list of things that the statute kind of prompts you to consider when you are preparing a power of attorney for healthcare. So terminal illness is one circumstance in which you may wish to have a power of attorney for healthcare. If you suffer from a mental condition that makes or will make decision making difficult for you at some point, if you're a little bit older, or if you have dependents or other relatives who you do not want to have to make such decisions on your behalf. So you kind of take the pressure off of them by putting together a qualified document in advance so that it is clear what your wishes would be, so that they're not standing there after you're no longer able to let them know. They're not standing there wondering, wow, I wonder would she have wanted this or would she have wanted that, sort of thing. And again, I don't want to make it sound like this is something just for people who maybe have a physical ailment or illness. It's not just for people that may have some sort of mental condition that may affect their decision making. It's not just for people who are necessarily older. I have a power of attorney for my healthcare in place right now, and I did it several years ago. You never know. And I'll take a moment to just talk about something personal. You never know when a health crisis may strike. I had a very, very serious, life threatening medical emergency while I was just in my 40s. So that's a very, very much a relatively young age to experience something like that. And I found myself in the ICU fighting for my life. And I'm a person who had been otherwise healthy. But sometimes things happen. You don't necessarily see it coming. But when it does, you're glad you've got your paperwork in order. So at least that's one less thing to have to worry about. Um, so it's not just for the elderly, I guess is the point I'm trying to make. Those are the pros of having a healthcare power of attorney. What are some of the cons? Um, Planning for the future always comes with the risk of unforeseen events. You may develop a new health condition that maybe you would feel differently about whatever treatment you said yes or no to before that condition developed. You may even just have a falling out with the person that you selected or the person you designated as your power of attorney for your healthcare. And maybe you don't want that person to have a say any longer. And that's important too, because this, we're talking about real life. Things happen, things change. um One of the well, I'm going to get to recommendations, but I want to say this just in case I don't have time to get to this. But one of the things that is recommended, that whatever power of attorney documents you put in place, that you review them on 5-year intervals in case you would like to make any changes or any updates to your documents. You should look at them. It's recommended that you look at those documents, that you review them on 5-year intervals. So, another challenge with power of attorney for healthcare documents is the emotional toll that this takes on people. Even sitting here talking about these things is difficult because we're talking about real life matters, but it's hard. This is hard stuff. We're talking about terminal illnesses. We're talking about mental incapacities. We're talking about a lack of consciousness that other people may have to step in and make decisions for you. So these types of discussions are a stark reminder of our own mortality, which makes it difficult to talk about. But it drives home the fact that we will not always be, I will not always be as healthy or as mentally aware as I am today, and no one will. Um, People can struggle with this reality and therefore often will procrastinate getting their estate plan in place, thinking in some strange, counterintuitive way that if I don't do my will and power of attorney, if I just ignore it, if I don't do that stuff, then I can ignore the fact that one day I will no longer be alive, or one day I may be incapacitated. Well, life is going to hit whether you have your paperwork together or not. So you might as well have your paperwork together. And I always say to people, as I encourage these things to be handled even at younger ages, don't wait until you're at an advanced age, or don't wait until you're sick. Like, that's even worse. If you are going through some sort of medical challenge or issue, it's harder to do these forms or this type of paperwork. I didn't mean to say forms, but these types of papers, it's harder to prepare if you're unwell. Who wants to think about this stuff if you're unwell? So, with that in mind, um, I would like to talk a little bit more about the top mistakes to avoid when doing a power of attorney for healthcare or the power of attorney for business and finances. Feel free to call and join the discussion. I know this is heavy, it's a heavy topic today, but feel free to call in at 414-444-5250 if you'd like to join the discussion, or if you just have any questions or comments that you'd like to add. This is kind of heavy stuff today, but it's important to talk about. So feel free to join the discussion if you see fit to do so. I'm going to talk about I said 10 things that you should avoid, but I went on and I ended up with more than 10. So I don't know how many there are, but I am going to start talking about things that you should avoid when preparing, or that relate to having a power of attorney. So the first thing, I hope that I've convinced you with some of the information that was shared this morning, that the biggest mistake that you can make is failing to do any of this. Failing to prepare a power of attorney is the biggest mistake that you can make. Um, Sometimes people don't realize how important this document is, and they think, "Oh, all I need is a will." Um, but you um, people don't like to think about losing the ability to manage their own affairs. So again, that makes it difficult. So what we're doing today is hopefully educating people about the importance of having this particular document. And that's why when I started off, I said, this is about you. This is about you while you are alive. This is about how that money that you work so hard for is going to be used to help support your care when you need it, or that home that you have worked so hard to own, how that home is going to provide you refuge and shelter when you most need it. Now, the will is what's going to happen after you're gone, but I'm suggesting that what we're talking about today is equally, if not more important, because we're talking about what will concern you while you're still alive. So the biggest mistake you can make is failing to have a power of attorney form. So I'm noticing that we have a caller that is on the line, and we'll break up a moment here and take that call. Thank you, caller. Go ahead, please.
Okay, my question is this. I have a will, and in that will, it has my financial, medical, what would happen in case of whatever, I become whatever. All that was, I went to an attorney and I had all this done. So it's all in one package.
Okay.
Does that make sense? I mean, you don't have to do these things separately.
Yeah, your question makes sense, but it sounds like you told me that you had an attorney prepare the documentation for you. So
Right.
I would assume, based on the fact that you had an attorney draw these documents up, that it's satisfactory. It certainly, I have seen in my experiences over the years that that has been acceptable, that I've seen it done that way. Um, I can't give you specific legal advice as to whether it's right or wrong because I haven't seen it per se,
Right.
but I have it in my collective experience. I can tell you that I have seen documents such as what you described.
And then the only question is, once this is done, that part of the one that my medical directive, like if I were to whatever, feeding tube, everything, or in there is specifically explained. I'm not a plant. If I can't speak to you or have no form of communication, let me go. If
Right.
there's no activity, I mean, what quality of life do you have? It's like you're trying to make a decision. And is it true that once you get on a feeding tube, and you're on there 10, 12 years, you can't go back now and say, take them off.
Well, that's just it. You know, everything is always subject to litigation. I hate to say it that way, but sometimes that's how it is. Um, but your point about the quality of life, I think, is a good one, for sure. And but it's also an individual decision. People, you know, have the right to choose one way or a different way. I happen to see it the way you see it, but it's a personal decision
That's
sometimes
why
about how
I
we
didn't
want
want
those things to go.
right. That's why I didn't want that pressure on my family. I want it
Sure,
written so that they know that is what my wishes are. I'm
right,
not playing God here, but that's on you every day, trying to come run to see me just to look at me.
right.
I mean, you're eating up insurance, and there's nothing going on. But now, when someone asks you, when are you legally dead? I said, well, your heart stopped. That's it. But as long as that heartbeat is strong, because we did have a relative for 5 years, she was in a fetal position, all bent up, could not speak, but just made these sounds.
Right.
And she was not on a breathing tube. She was not on a. I don't even know how she survived, because I don't remember her being on a feeding tube.
Right, right. Yeah.
But
That
that's
had to
fine.
be hard to even see.
Oh my God, it was devastating to me. So
Sure.
that was just my question. And now, how do you? And the next thing, when you go to the hospital or before you have surgery, they want to know, do you have a medical directive? Well, it's in my will, but should that thing be put into my where I go to the hospital so they can see I have a medical directive? Here it is, and
Well,
it's
yeah,
on file.
sometimes they'll ask you for that. Sometimes they'll ask you for a copy of it so that they have it in
Mhm.
their file, so that they have it handy. And maybe
Okay.
that's one reason why, you know, people typically separate those documents out so that you don't have to expose that other private information
Right.
to the medical facility. So that would be one
Okay.
reason why people might separate those documents out. Um, but so yeah, so they often will ask for that. But I appreciate your questions
Okay.
this
Thank
morning.
you.
We got another caller that's holding, so I'm
Okay.
gonna do that before we have to go to the break. So thank you so much for calling in. We appreciate it. Go ahead, caller. Hello.
I'm here.
There you are. I know this caller.
I
Go ahead, big sister.
Hi, my name is Lisa. I am Coral's big sister. I was just calling in to speak to the POA, Coral.
Yes.
I was recently in the hospital in ICU, and I work in healthcare, so I'm also going to say shame on me coming out the gate. Um, I woke up in ICU, had no clue what happened, what went on, what was going on. All of my decisions were made, my healthcare decisions were made by my oldest daughter, Hope, and by Coral, my sister. My mother, our mother, is 91 and still alive and kicking. She felt she should have say in what went on with the decisions to my health care, as she later on shared with me that she was upset about. Had paperwork been in place, there would have never been a discussion, number one. Number two, people don't realize, and I work in healthcare, and every day when I'm looking at my patients, and I notice they don't have an advance directive, a POA on file, I am asking them, please take this packet home, fill it out. Take this packet home, fill it out, bring it back so we can have it scanned into your medical record so that if anything were to happen to you, we would know that this is how you would want anything carried out, and this is the person that will make the medical decisions for you. People do get that mixed up with finances. The advanced directives, the POA, has nothing to do with your finances. It's a totally different situation. Finances should go into your will. The POA should definitely be filled out for your medical health care needs. I have 3 children. One, I think that if he could keep me alive for 20 years on life support, whether I was responsive or not, he would keep me alive for 20 years on life support. One who would be realistic about, okay, we've done this, there's nothing more that they can do. And another one who would be realistic that probably give me a little bit more grace on we've done this, there's nothing more that we can do. But it avoids confusion because it is your wishes written out, spelled out as to how you want things to transpire with you and your healthcare needs.
Right. You know what, Lisa, like you are kind of an expert as relates to this, and
Yes.
we're going to probably continue this topic in next week's show. So I probably will have you on or have you call in anyway, because you got some good valid points and things that we need to talk about, that we need to get to. But right now we have to take a break and come back and wind down the show. But I like where you're going with it, and we'll talk about it a little bit more. But thanks for calling in.
Okay. All right.
Okay, sis. Hey, we'll be right back.
Calling all high school students. Do you act, sing, or play an instrument? Are you a scientist, filmmaker, playwright, or visual artist? If so, the NAACP Afro-Academic Cultural, Technological, Scientific Olympics program is for you. Sign up to compete in the local AXO competition on Sunday, April 21st. Gold medalists will automatically win an opportunity to compete at the National NAACP AXO competition in Las Vegas, Nevada this summer. With 32 AXO categories to choose from, there's definitely room to shine. For more information about the NAACP AXO program, visit naacpmke.org or call 414-562-1000.
Get ready, Wisconsin. The Black Child Development Institute is expanding its village statewide. Join us for an unforgettable evening of celebration and empowerment at our gala on Saturday, May 4th, 2024 at the Hilton Milwaukee City Center. Tickets are available for $150 per person and sponsorships are available. Adorn yourself in formal African attire as we celebrate this momentous occasion and the growth of our village. For more information and to purchase tickets, call 414-236-5641 or visit bcdi-wisconsin.org. That is 414-236-5641 or bcdi-wisconsin.org. Don't miss out on this unforgettable event. Together, let's build a brighter future for Wisconsin's children.
MATC helps students achieve their college and career goals with classes for transfer students, degree and certificate programs, and skills for better jobs. Attend their open house on April 25th from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. at the downtown Milwaukee campus. To learn more, visit matc.edu/open house. That's MATC's downtown Milwaukee campus on Thursday, April 25th. Go to matc.edu/open house.
The Wisconsin Home Energy Assistance Program end of the season is approaching. Don't miss out on benefits and help with your WE energy bill. Just go to keepwarmmke.org. It's made it easy for you to schedule an appointment. You may also call 414-270-4653. Don't delay, call us today. Again, that's 414-270-4653 or visit us online at keepwarmmke.org. This is administered by the State of Wisconsin Home Energy Plus program.
Hi, this is Sandra Silk, inviting you to tune in to All That Jazz. Join me every Tuesday and Thursday. Enjoy jazz from yesterday and today from 5 till 8 p.m. right here on 860 WNOV 106.5 FM The Voice.
WNOV 860 and W293CX 106.5 Milwaukee.
Hey, welcome back to Money Talks with Attorney Coral. I just want to shout out and say a special thanks to my sister Lisa, who called into the show today with some very, very helpful insights and information. I'm going to continue this topic because I didn't even scratch the surface of what we wanted to talk about today. But I did tell you I was going to let you know how to get a free legal consult. You can call my office at 414-247-9570 regarding your estate planning needs. And if you mention Columbia Savings and Loan, you will get a free consult. Thank you so much and have a wonderful week. Look forward to talking about all of this and more with you next week. Have a great week.